dickhead moments, going into meetings, and then coming out and going, oh, why the fuck did you say that? I'm Matt McGough, I'm Managing Director of Ithica Films, and this is my big interview. So Ithica Films creates films for business, and the way that we do this is we've got a very cinematic approach which people have really latched onto, and we work in a lot of different industries. We work with renewables, we work with engineering, we work with healthcare, we do a lot with tourism now, and a lot of this is just how we capture the world and how we tell stories. Some of the key ones have been with maybe Better Brand. We share a couple of clients, so it's great to be able to influence each other's work in an informal way, and it's not necessarily the client throwing us together and saying, all right, we'll work out between yourselves, but we were quite open about, oh, well, we've got this coming on, have you got any imagery about that? Or if we're saying, well, we're trying to work on this idea, where have you done any work with it? And just sharing those ideas, it's very important, and it feels very genuine, and it's done in a very soft approach. It's not, right, well, let's throw a load of people together and make them do business. It's, well, actually just throw them together and share ideas, and if business comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I think if you have an area where you can have TEDx, or you could have your own sort of talks and start having events, having overspill from Animex, things like that, I think it would change the dynamic in a lot of ways. So it's quite a practical application of cash, but I think if you could have something that would almost be a draw for everyone to go to, that would be great. And even if it's like a canteen during the day and you've got somewhere you can get something to eat, but on a night you've got events on particular weeks, you might have expos, that type of thing. You can start drawing on all these little things, but it has to start very small. I think that's been the big success of everything digital here. It starts very small and it builds. I had a bit of patter with Vic Reeves once, so that was cool. But I'm more obsessed with Bob Mortimer's Twitter than anything else. Most memorable gig would have been Mogwai a few years ago. It's the first time I've seen them when I've been sat down in a theatre. So because they're incredibly loud, and it's almost like having you can feel almost the heat off it, of all this volume and sound. Being sat is very different to being stood up, so you've not got the deadening sound of people. So having something so like raw and unleashed, just sort of unloaded straight at you with nowhere to escape, was really sort of one of the most memorable ones of being an adult. I don't really remember a lot of the gigs as a young adult or an adolescent, because I was learning how to drink. Yeah, I'm into sports, mostly footy, Borough, Celtic. Don't really look at international footy. I wish I was involved in something else, because it gets a bit tedious. I mean, I'm a bit bored of the Premier League and the money, and it's just boring. Like, there's no life to it, which, to be fair, like, is why the Championship and the SBL really sort of interest me, because it fills the void with of nonsense, with like petty nonsense, which is better. Our five-a-side team, the Cooper Reds, Acklam, we had a five-a-side team for a few years playing in Stockton, and we won. We got promoted, and I think we won cup, and might have won one of the leagues as well. But it was kind of like my influence was diminishing as we got better and better players. So it's I was still kind of involved, but it was nice to see everyone else do really well. Networking's a bit of a weird one. I'm being very selective about what I do now, and a lot of it's just going like, because I know there's going to be some cool people there, or that it's going to be quite an interesting topic or things like that. So I'm quite picky about it. So I'm enjoying some of the Entrepreneurs Forum stuff, and because we get involved in renewables and engineering, there's like Teesside Engineering Network, which is always good, because it's kind of like, I like the detail of how these companies work. So they're quite open about projects they've done and where the businesses are heading. So I find all that stuff fascinating, because that's what the level of detail we need to understand what we need to do around it. Family moved to Wynyard not so long ago, and it's a bit of it feels a bit of a cliche of like you do well and you might move out the area, but it's more the peace and the quiet. I really enjoy it, and I really value it. I really like that my kids are settled there, and that it's far enough away from the office. I really like the micro pubs. I like Twisted Lip a lot. I think, like, again, if I was younger, I'd be in there all the time. It's just totally my sort of thing. I've always tried my best to be a little bit eco-friendly. I know it's difficult to do it the whole hog, but the weird thing is getting flack from a 7-year-old about it. Why do we drive diesel cars? Why haven't we got an electric car? Why are we wasting this? Why are we wasting that? I've never really spoke about this, but what I used to do, I haven't done it for a while, is when you'd get the reward cards for your coffees and stuff, when you get the free one, I'd always make sure that I was getting what I got, but we're getting some extra. And particularly when we were in Stockton, because it was a bit more obvious of where the people were, and I'd just go and give them to the people that were on the street. A lot of people don't know that I used to be heavily involved in music. I had a couple of bands and played a lot locally, played some of the, like when we had the big festivals here, Fringe and things like that. It's quite a good lesson for how to run the business, of how do we get all of these people to do this and be in this place at this time and all that type of thing. Biggest fuck up, dickhead moments, going into meetings and then coming out and going, oh, why the fuck did you say that? Them, and not checking my white balance when I was working on broadcast documentaries and everything looking blue. Don't sleep anyway, but yeah, I'd probably just sulk around and play Xbox or something, what I do now. That I'd ran my mouth to the wrong people, and they'd probably be right. Christopher Nolan, Bob Mortimer, and Henrik Larsson.
What do you ask them?
Christopher Nolan, why are you so mint? Bob Mortimer, I'd probably just say, hi, how are you? Because God knows what would come out on the back of that. And Henrik Larsson, I'd want to know whether he wants his dreads back. If there was one law that everyone had to obey, it would be just do what you want. By law, do what you want. Nothing like, oh, now you can go and chop people's heads off or anything like that. But just like, yeah, just don't worry about it. Just do what you want. Just be alright with people. Just don't be a dick. Be alright.